Hey there! I recently bought the Berlin main series from Orchestral Tools and thought might as well do a review. So today we're gonna go over the advantages and disadvantages I've experienced using this library, and I also composed a demo track so you can hear all the instruments from this library in context. First of all, I'm a guitar teacher and composer from Germany, and my music mainly focuses on jazz and other guitar-related genres. But I found myself really interested recently in orchestral work and more classical approaches to orchestration. I found myself limited rather quickly by the orchestral libraries I already owned, and I wanted to get a new core for my orchestral template, and in the end I settled on the Berlin main series. So let's talk about the advantages. There are basically two things that can make a big difference in the quality of orchestral sampling. One are the samples itself, how good do they sound or how well were they recorded, and the other one is the programming, as it determines how fluid notes transition into each other and how realistic the whole library sounds. The legato patches and the note transitions in general were really fluid, and I had no problems or hiccups whatsoever when I tried to program different melodies with different rhythmic figures, and everything went really well. I was also pleasantly surprised to see that there were different instruments for each instrument group in the Berlin Woodwinds and Berlin Brass series. That made it really comfortable actually, as the individual colors and different player performances were captured really well, and you could basically choose which color or which combination of color you wanted for every melody line. At this point, I should probably also add that when I first opened the Berlin Percussion series, I was pretty much overwhelmed by all the variety they provided. Especially in the drum department, there were so many instruments to choose from that there will probably be a fitting instrument in there for all situations you want to have one in. Another incredible feature is the merge function for the microphone positions. Usually you have to load every sample up again if you want to add another microphone position to your sample output. And with the merge function provided by Orchestral Tools, you can basically merge different microphone positions into one, so you only have to load up all the samples into your memory once, which is really resource friendly. I also want to talk very briefly about the sign player and the user interface provided by Orchestral Tools, as again I was really pleasantly surprised how clean and intuitive and effective it felt. Okay, let's talk about some disadvantages, although I'd rather call them inconveniences, as the severity of them didn't really outweigh the positive side of things, and I'm really pleased with all the sample libraries. But if you think about purchasing the main bundle, the following things still should be considered. I guess, as we already mentioned the purchase, we can start with the price as well. This bundle is quite pricey, and although you get a lot of options and variety for your money, if you don't end up using a lot of it, then maybe another library suits your needs better. I have to say though that Orchestral Tools does a fantastic job of providing details for the libraries and bundles, so if you don't know if this library and bundle will be a good fit for you, you can head over to their website and pretty much get every information you need from there. Another thing to be very aware of is the toll that these libraries will take on your computer and more specifically your CPU. I'm working with 64 gigabytes of RAM, and I tried really experimenting with my template as well, including using Vienna Ensemble Pro 7 and leaving it out. And I wanted to really see how much do I really need and how far can I push my computer. But I think with at least my workflow, even with 32 gigabytes of RAM, I wouldn't have been able to make an orchestral template I would have been content with. So these libraries are very memory hungry, and what doesn't help either is that there's no purge function. I'm so used to the contact player and the purge function included that I really assumed something similar would be available in the sign player as well. And then I read that there was a purge function, but it was removed in a later update. So I can only assume it didn't work as intended and they are still trying to fix it. At least I hope so, as it would help with the RAM usage as well. Lastly, I want to mention that there are some inconsistencies in the different instrument groups. So for example, in the four horn instruments, there are some articulations that aren't represented on every horn instrument. So you are kind of limited if you want to use them to a certain instrument, even if you don't like the color as much. Also, I pray for the day when developers will include negative track delay settings, as it was quite the hustle to figure them out, and there were quite a few inconsistencies in there as well. Then all that's left is the demo track I composed for this. I wanted to make sure to include different genres or musical settings, so you can make sure that the music you want to use this library for is actually a good fit. I started out with a lush and calm arrangement, then went into a more action-focused part that probably fits very well into a chase scene or something. And at the end, I included a part that is more of an hybrid approach where I used some distorted guitars and a drum kit together with the ensemble patches included in these libraries. I also wanted to make sure that what you hear is what you get out of the box. I experienced when I started out that the demo tracks and review tracks you hear are most of the times processed by really experienced people, and then you get the product and are kept wondering why it doesn't sound like the thing you heard. So I didn't mix. I didn't change any volumes whatsoever and just used the patches as they came. And the only thing I did was using the expression and modulation CC to give it a bit more realism. And I also used a limiter on the master bus just to lift up the general volume a bit. But other than that, what you'll hear is what you get. I will do a quick mix and master of the demo track stems this week though, so you can hear the same music in a process setting too. I hope you found this helpful and I could answer some questions I myself had when I was trying to decide what to get. And if you have any questions left, feel free to reach out. And I think I will do a quick rundown of the different instrument groups of the libraries as well in a separate video. So watch out for that and I'll see you around.